Hi everyone, my name is Cody Shaw and I'm in Professor Wheeler's 3367 CIS class, and today we're going to talk about NBA players and their average statistics for all the categories they had. NBA season's coming up, so I thought I should just use my project time and work on something I actually enjoy. Here are the tabs that we're going to focus on today. The data tab shows all the data that I've collected or I've extracted from Yahoo, and there's a lot of data. There are 22 columns and 188 rows. That's a lot. Now, on column A has all the names of the players that I extracted and their statistics, their average statistics for the season. Now, which columns are we really going to focus on? We're going to focus on names, which is, basically the most important part in how each player did. We're going to focus on the field goals made and attempted because it'll show us a percentage made, and that will tell us how good of their shooting they had. We're going to focus on the total number of average rebounds, total average assists, total average steals, total average blocks, and total points per game. Now, why is this important? I'm in a fantasy league, so all these numbers will allow me to choose the players I want according to how well they did last season, assuming that they will continue to do well this season. Now, I'm going to use a pivot table, which is a really cool Excel tool that allows us to take this large data and it will allow us to extract the significant data that we are looking for. Now, we're going to go to Insert, click Pivot Table, and it will automatically select the data range. Now, if this does not happen, we can always click this button right here and click it, and this will allow us to manually select from, say, the name A2 all the way down, and then click Enter. And that will give us that. We're going to do a new worksheet so it doesn't collide with the data worksheet. And then it will be on the left of the data. We're going to name it points per game. Now, on the right side, we have the fields. This is all the column titles that we took. So we first can put name into rows, which will allow us to have alphabetically the names in each of the rows, because what we're trying to look for is how well each player scored in the season. Now, because we do points per game, we're going to do PPG, and we're going to put it in the value section, and it will automatically match up the points made by the player. Now, sometimes you will see here will be count of PPG, which will count the number of values under each name, but since each player could only have one average points per game, we want to change that. So we left click on this, click value field settings, do sum, and it'll just show us the number right here. Now, this is a lot of information. I mean, there's some people that you don't really want to have on your fantasy team just because, Brandon Rush 4.2 points per game. Like, that doesn't really help us. So let's filter this, right click on the names, we're going to filter, and I'm going to do top 10 scorers, top 10 points per game. You guys could change it to anything you want, but I'm going to focus on top 10. Now we can see that Anthony Davis did 24 points per game, average point 24, and then Steph Curry had 30, which is the highest in this. This is a much better representation of who I want to select as the first pick of the round. So now we're going to do this. We're going to change this into a chart, a bar graph. We're going to do Analyze, Pivot chart, and this shows us all of the different charts that we could have. Now, a lot of these do not matter to me because my information do not change over time or is very comparative besides comparing it to each player. So we're going to do a basic cluster column. Now, in my other dashboard tab, we're going to see a lot of different types of clustered columns and as well as bar graphs. So we're going to for now, we're going to click this, click OK, and this is what we're going to have right here. It looks pretty simple. If we look under James Harden, he did relatively higher than everybody else. I believe the lowest one was DeRozan right here. So I'm going to cut this, and then we're going to paste it onto our dashboards. And now, as you can see, we have 2 bars and 2 columns. This one's in 3D. This one is a little slanted. It's just for looks. Now we're going to get rid of the legend right here, just to make it a little bit prettier. We're going to change this to average points per game. Now if I'm first choice and I could select whoever I want, and I want somebody that has a high average points per game, I'll choose Steph Curry. If I needed assist, I'll definitely pick someone like Rondo or Russell Westbrook. Now, this is very helpful for us, but this only shows us the top 10 of each category. For example, top 10 blocks, rebounds, steals, assists, and points per game. How do we find the top 10, say, in each category for each team? Now, to average teams, we have teams here as a field right here. So we're going to insert a slicer. So make sure you click one of these graphs, click Analyze, Insert Slicer. We're going to choose Team. Now we could also do Name, but this is going to be so many names, and you'll figure out what I'm talking about after I click OK. This is a slicer. It is an extension of pivot charts. It's basically a filter. Now if we do this, one of them, this looks kind of bad. So we're going to change columns into 3 columns. Now we have all of these teams. Now say I would just want to see who's on Houston's team that has points per game. Oh, see James Harden is on it with a lot of points, but we don't really know how much. So we're going to right click here and we're going to add the data label on top. So it looks like James Harden averaged 29. I wouldn't want to pick up any of these guys either, but how do I make these graphs relevant to who I want to figure out here? I can make these relevant by clicking on the slicer. We're going to go to Options, and then we're going to do Report Connections. Now this just shows us that we have all these pivot tables, and now we want to connect it all into this one slicer. So we're going to do like assists, blocks, rebounds, and steals. Bam. Now all of these would change according to how I selected here. It would be the top 10 of each category and each team or teams. Now what's great about the slicer is I could do Houston and New York, and it'll show us the top 10 between the 2 teams. Or I could add in another team. Do Houston, New York, and Oklahoma City, and it'll show us the top 10 of each of these as well. Now this tool is probably the most helpful, I believe, in choosing my team on fantasy, just so I could see how they each did, rather than seeing the whole data sheet here and trying to figure out, oh, who do I choose? Now this dashboard looks nice, I have to say. Now if you want to go back to the original top 10 of each category, we just select here, press Shift, and click the last one. It'll select every team but the top 10 for each category. So this is our original. Now I want to show you the field goal. This is a different, it's also a column, but as you can see there's like orange and blue. Now for here I selected names in the rows, and then we had the field goals made and attempted. And then what I filtered on top, I put on top was a team. So you see here, put team on top, and I'm able to filter according to which team I want on the top. So if I do Brooklyn, this filter right here is the same as a slicer. It filters it accordingly. And as you can see, there are 2 colors here. The blue represents the field goals made, and then the orange represents the amount attempted. Now if I added the data points, I can see that Brook Lopez made 8.1, roughly average 8 shots, and he made 15 shots. Now what is the significance of this? It shows us that their shooting percentage is relatively decent, and you don't want a bad shooter that attempts a lot. And this is also another slicer that's only connected to this. So now I can pick my fantasy team, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Thank you.